Welcome to Readability. I'm your host, Ashley Kelson. In Readability, we read all kinds of stories, from short storybooks to large chapter books. You could sit down with family or just lay back and relax. Every Saturday, we read, review, and recommend different books for your listening pleasure. I really hope you enjoy Readability. Let's get started. All right, let's get on to our Readability kickoff session. What's up, everybody? It's your host, Ashley, back with another Readability episode. Before we move forward, I just wanted to mention that I made a few mistakes in the last episode, reviewing Front Desk by Kelly Yang. Of course, they're not too major, just some things that aren't exactly correct. Names, for example, Frank and Hank, I got that mixed up, and possibly the pronunciation of the Cala Vista Motel or Cala Vista. I hope you don't mind, and also I wanted to give a small shout out to any new listeners. It doesn't matter where you're listening on, if it's Spotify or Apple Podcasts or even Anchor itself. I am very excited that you're here. We have tons of fun on Readability, and speaking of that, let's get on to this week's episode. This week, I wanted to help out all kids who are having trouble picking out a good book to read. I know exactly how it feels to be stuck in a position where you can't find a good book. After doing my research on how to find a good story that I'll enjoy, I am proud to say that these tips may help my fellow readers. I'll provide as many tips as I can, so stay tuned. Tip number 1. Think of things you enjoy in books. If you're a bookworm, like me, I'm assuming that you've read at least a handful of stories that you enjoy. If not, you can still use this tip to your advantage. Think of the different aspects of the books that you enjoy the most, if that's the genre, the style of writing, the plot, etc. It doesn't matter what it is, just keep it in mind. The next time you go to the library, use what you know about the books you enjoy to pick out similar ones. For me, I enjoy a lot of mystery novels because of the plots and the exciting twist the author adds to the story. So, when I go to the library, I like to look for books that are in the mystery genre. If you notice that you appreciate books by a specific author, keep an eye out for more novels by him or her. I use this tip on occasion, and it's helped me find some really great stories. Tip number 2. Try out some new stories. If you're not interested in the last tip, which is totally fine, feel free to explore new topics and genres of books you never thought you'd like. Many people say you'll never know until you try it, and that's the same thing with books. As I've mentioned, I do enjoy mystery, but that doesn't exactly mean I can't read some fantasy. If you do try out this tip and don't enjoy it, then go ahead and try with another genre. Before I move on, remember, all of these tips don't just have to be with fiction. Explore the nonfiction section if you must. Nonfiction is actually a great way to learn more about celebrities, our Earth, animals, space, history, and more. Think of this tip as trying new foods if you'd like. Try this and you may find your new favorite books. Tip number 3. Use different apps to help find some new books. If you're a bit confused on what I mean, I'll quickly explain. Apps can really help you find different books that fit best for you, if you find the right app. The one I've only used, and the one I recommend the most, is Goodreads. This app is pretty popular amongst the reading community and has every single book you can imagine on there. Thousands of reviews to help you find if the book is worth it or not. Another great thing about Goodreads is that you can list books you have already read, and they'll list books that are similar and you may like. Of course, as a kid, you'll see some books that are too advanced, and you're going to have to filter through the books you've already read before you check out some books. I love using Goodreads, and I think all of my listeners will love it as much as I do. P.S. This is not a sponsorship. Tip number 4. Get some ideas from friends. This tip is pretty self-explanatory. All you have to do is ask your friends what kinds of books they recommend to you. I may not know what kinds of books you enjoy, but your friends would. The more you tell people about the specific stories you've read, the easier it will be for them to recommend books to you. It's that simple. Those were some tips I recommend to my listeners to try out if they are ever in the dilemma of books. As always, I am not forcing you to use them, but they are a good starting point for finding great novels. Personally, I use tip 4 and 1 the most when looking for a great book. Forgot to mention this, but joining a book club and extracurricular activities like Battle of the Books is a great way to become exposed to new stories. Above all else, I really hope you enjoy this episode, and here is our official readability ending. Thank you for joining me, your host, Ashley Kelson, on Readability. It has been a really great time, and I hope you join me again next week. Remember, every Saturday we either read, review, or recommend a book for your listening pleasure. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Keep reading, folks. Bye!